This is Valley of Tears from MMP Games. It's part of the Battalion Combat Series. This is really just a second update to let people know what I've done since I did last time. I found the missing unit, which is this Yamak static defense thing. Now, if it had been marked clearly in the setup instructions what country it was, which it says it should be, I would have found it. But it's not marked as Kuwaiti, it's marked as Arab. Okay, so I just stumbled across that eventually. I've still got an odd ball question about the 25th Rifle Corps, which is a unit of the Syrian army, which doesn't appear to have a combat train. Now, maybe that's something to do with the fact that it's a corps rather than a division. So that's still outstanding, but considering it's not deployed on the board at this particular point in time, it's not a big issue. Other things I've done is I've noticed that these bridges, the bridges over the canal that the Egyptians put over are marked clearly. Now at the start of the game you mark them with these bridge open knot markers, and as soon as the bridge is coming to force, those markers go. All right. Other things I've done, I've put the support markers against the divisions HQs as appropriate. Well, everybody's using. Has either got no support or has got red support in terms of the Arabs. Another thing we noticed was there is an errata in the rulebook. Excuse me, I'm going to go right round the table here just to show you. In the setup there's an errata that these markers here in the Israeli workshops should be clearly marked in the books as replacements. Okay, see replacements down the top left there. They're not marked as such, certainly not in the scenario I set up, which is the main two-front campaign, but reading the errata it suggests that they may be correctly marked on some hexes in some scenarios. Right, let's just move back here. In terms of the special rules booklet, which I showed you where the missing pages, well, it's effectively duplicate pages, are in place, and it means that there's a set of 8 pages missing. I sent an email to MMP and they responded immediately saying they're going to send me a replacement booklet as soon as possible, so that's good. No messing around there. Sometimes if you ask for replacement pieces, they demand like a photograph to prove that something's not right, but these guys didn't. And the reason for that is, I believe, well, I've heard at least 2 other people say they had the same problem with missing pages or duplicate pages. So that's that resolved. I've watched a few more videos, and I think I've got a grip now on exactly what units can and can't do, and the mechanics. So we'll probably be looking at starting fairly soon. One thing I will notice at this game is there is no weather in this game, because effectively it was sunny all the time. Amazingly enough, it's a desert, and it was still so, well, yeah, autumn, but there was only one slight little bit of drizzle during the entire campaign in one day, but they decided not to bother with that. It's not worth it. Another thing, that visibility is always 4 hexes in this game, which is the maximum as I understand it for the system. There is one exception. There is a Mount Hebron, which overlooks the entire Golan Heights area. This hex here gives you spotting values into pretty much the entire Heights area. I'd have to double check that, but it's a special rule. That was one of the main reasons that the Syrian commandos attacked that position as soon as possible, to remove that Israeli thing. I think that's pretty much everything that's gone on. Oh yeah, I found that there's a couple of Israeli static defense markers called Bisut 1 and 2. Now, I wondered if they were supposed to be part of the setup, but they're not. They are unassigned static assets in one of the scenarios. So they're the only 2 Israeli static units that aren't actually deployed on the map at the start of the campaign. I don't know whether they come in as reinforcements on the campaign or not. Yeah, one thing we didn't discuss is there are quite a lot of units over here. You see these big stacks of units. These are the Arab unassigned strategic reserves. They can be brought in at certain points, but I believe that affects the victory point calculation. In terms of the actual canal crossing, this is quite a feat by the Arabs. Not really mentioned it in my last introduction, that the Barlev line not only had a series of 45 points, but they built these huge sand berm things, which were supposedly to stop the Arabs from crossing. And they also had this little defensive thing where they could pump fuel into the canal and set fire to it. Now, the Arabs, being quite clever, they worked out a way of getting rid of the sandberms by just using high pressure water jets, where they just fire the water jets at these things, and they just disintegrated. They just washed away, and they were able to overcome that obstacle dead easy. In terms of the flaming canal defense thing, that never worked either, because Arab commandos crossed over and they either destroyed or blocked the pipes, which were to pump the fuel across into the canal. So all in all, the Barlev line didn't give the Israelis the time element they expected it to. But it's still, crossing the canal is a major operation. I'm not sure how quite that's going to work, but bridges, certainly in Barlev, the game I played, the bridges were major choke points for traffic going across, and it was difficult to deploy out of there. But to be quite honest, Barlev made a bit of a mess of it, because they had all these units down to company level, and then only a certain number of them could cross the bridges. So, and you also had the fact you had your brigade counters in Barlev, but brigades couldn't cross, only companies could. So you had to break all your units down and then reform them again on the other side, which was, it was just daft. Luckily this game doesn't seem to suffer from that. And that's really it for the update so far. Maybe we will be looking at a certainly at a test turn when we do the next video. Oh yeah, and I want to thank everybody who's responded to my question about the videos, suitable videos. Funnily enough, I actually found about another 5 wargame sites which I wasn't subscribed to, so that's helped out. And thanks to people who've responded about the rule book, and pointing out that you can get MMP to replace it, which as I say I've already done. Okay, thank you.